Uh, Good afternoon, all, to all who are located in India, and a very warm welcome to all the participants who have participated here in this webinar from across the world. And I would like to first of all introduce the center, Kiran Patel Center for Sustainable Development, which is organizing this seminar series. And the center is involved, it undertakes cutting edge research related to sustainable development, and it has been organizing many such events which relates to sustainability and the different aspects of sustainable development. um, we have Mr. Raghav Pachouri as our speaker today. And this seminar series has had many speakers from different organizations who work in different fields related to sustainable development. And our center has five main focus areas, which are water, energy, climate change, pollution and waste management, and natural resources, wildlife, and ecosystems. So here I hand over to Professor Narad, who will moderate this session further.
Thank you, Falguni. Good afternoon to one and all present here again. It's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Raghav Pachouri, today's speaker in this KPCSD seminar series. Mr. Raghav Pachouri is Associate Fellow at the Electricity and Fuel Division in the Energy and Resources Institute, TERI. He joined TERI in May 2018. At TERI, Mr. Raghav has begun work on project involving energy transition and associated risk and the outlook for the coal sector in India. His research interests include Indian energy policies, geopolitics of energy and history. He was previously employed over 5 years with Reliance Power and worked as a manager in operation and efficiency division at Sasan Ultra Mega Power Project. He also worked with CEO Reliance Power as a technical assistant to him. In Reliance Power, he was responsible for the preparation of annual operating plan for R Power. Prior to Reliance, he worked for around 2 years in a project management division for installation of thermal power plants. He has received a PGDC, post-graduation diploma in thermal power plant engineering from NPTI, and done his bachelor's in mechanical engineering from UPTU. With this very short bio sketch of Mr. Raghav Pachouri, I welcome on behalf of KPCSD Center at IIT Gandhinagar, Mr. Raghav Pachouri to start this session. Over to Mr. Raghav, please. Thank you. And I would request all the participants to place this question in Q&A box, and we'll take up these questions at the end of the presentation during Q&A. So with this short opening remarks, I would request Mr. Raghav to please start his session. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Narayan Falguni, for a very brief introduction. The topic that we are going to discuss today is India's power sector transition in 2030. The kind of work that we have done for foundations, that modeling, and what are the insights coming out of this. So I will start with just to give you a flow of presentation, that the objective of the what we have carried out in the study and what was the objective of the study, and what model that we have used so far to analyze the results and to carry out all the optimization methods. I'll talk briefly about the input and assumptions, what we have taken or considered throughout the studies, what are the scenario frameworks, and finally I'll talk about the result that we have come across, that what kind of situation will be there in 2030 for Indian power system. And with a few policy level conclusions, I'll conclude my presentation. So the need for accelerating change towards low carbon energy system to limit global temperature rise below 2 degrees Celsius requires no emphasis. We already know that government of India have taken like initiative of world's ambitious renewable targets, 175 gigawatt by 2022 and 450 gigawatt by 2030. One thing is that the government push towards integrating renewable energy into the system. Second is the decrease, or you can say reduce in that solar tariff itself, which is these two factors are pushing the decarbonization of whole power sector at a very great level. If you see on the screen that this is a world map where renewable energies are what kind of technologies are mostly the cost-effective technologies and getting shaped in the future. And they are like, let's say for USA, mostly the wind power energy play a domination role in when it comes to LCOE level. $37 per megawatt hour, whereas if you see in the Asian countries, in India and China, the tariffs are in the range of $33 per megawatt hour. If you convert this into rupees terms, it will be something around 2.5 rupees per unit. Also, you see that like from today's level, like from 4-5 years back, that the solar tariff was in the range of 12 rupees or 16 rupees. The drastic change in the last 5 years from 16 rupees to 2.5 rupees changed the total scenario and the perception of integrating renewable energy into the system. It is because of the technological improvement plus the innovative business solution and models that are available and the financing. Today, the scenario is such that the renewable energy tariffs, let's say for solar is 2.5 rupees or 2 rupees. I can say 2 rupees very proudly that recently we got in India, one of the power plant in Gujarat got a bid at around 2 rupees per unit, if I am not wrong. So this is very comparable to the only variable cost of non-pithead station. If you see the pithead stations having variable cost in the range of 2.5 rupees to 3.5 rupees, something in around. But so these tariffs for the solar itself, which is only fixed cost in nature, they are getting the tariff of around 2 rupees. And this is why they are like outsiding all the non-pithead station and getting promoted into the grid operations. So, so I'll take you through the objective. What exactly we discussed. What we have taken the study further is that what kind of growth of renewable energy we can integrate into the power system, Indian power system, and what are the different options, what are the cost benefits. Cost benefits in terms of system cost, that if you integrate certain percentage of renewable into the system, what will be the impact on system level cost? Will it increase your discounts burden, or it will have a not much of effect that can be like a good for the renewable integration and kind of a positive support to it. With it also, like we have to develop a dispatch model which will used for the research of different integration studies, planning, and system operation. Also, a model that can easily integrate inter-regional, interstate, and interstate transmission network system. So with this objective, we go forward and kind of try to exploring what kind of models that we can go for, what kind of different what kind of merits it should have. So there is one model, PyPSA, which is Python for power system analysis. It's a open source software. Why open source software? It's always like commercial software like Plexos and other, they are very costly, something around 75 lakhs for a discount for a particular year of one-time cost. So open source software are free to use, and they are, anyone can use it, anyone can use for the analysis purpose, for grid integration and power flow studies. They are easy to customize. You can customize them as per your requirement of the country, whether let's say I'll give you an example for the hydro dispatch. In India, hydro is used as a peak supporter, so peak support, or used for peak support, also as a available only in season. So we have to see that we have to change the methodology, how to use different generating stations at a particular philosophy as per their availability. Open source software are transparent. You can see the codes, you can see modify the codes as per your requirement, and the results can be easily reproduced and can be analyzed, and it's very easy to collaborate with them. So the PyPSA, this stand for Python for Power System, as I said for initially. It's maintained by Karlsruhe Institute of Technology, Germany, by their energy system model group, and it's free to available in the website. And you all, I'll request and I'll support in any requirement if you have, or any understanding you want to have on this model, to have a research work, or you want to go through the model and you want to understand the integrity of each parameter, how this works and how this functions. So what we done, we in the particular for this work, we simulate a complete year and at a granularity of hourly dispatch, which means that 24 hours to 365 days, with something around 8760 hours in a year. And we simulate all the generating stations in India and see that as per their merit order and as per their variable cost and cost associated with what is the right dispatch and what is optimized dispatch. I would say the right word is optimized dispatch will be in the 2030, and which station will get the priority over the other. So this model works on objective function of minimizing total production cost. When I say production cost, it includes the variable cost, startup cost. Whenever you have to start a thermal power station, you incur a cost in terms of auxiliary power consumption, startup oil consumption. So the model try to minimize this and give you a dispatch stack, which will be the least cost to the DISCOM, or to the you can say the payer, the one who will pay all that cost. So the input data for the model is, the model will take the different station as a category. Let's say for generator, we have different kind of technologies available: coal, gas, hydro station, solar PV, wind, gas as a, or you can say DG sets, even the biomass, waste to energy technology, and the nuclear technology. And we can so on improve the new technology. It's not that we have a list of 8 or 9 generator. You can come up with, let's say, battery energy storage system, or pumped hydro energy storage system, or a new different technology altogether if come in the future, let's say hydrogen based generation. So all these kind of generator can be integrated with the model. Model can take interstate or inter-regional transmission line. Right now we are taking inter-regional and interstate. Model can take intrastate also, but we have not included intrastate transmission line in this work. Model take region-wise, or you can say state-wise load profiles for hourly load profile of a year. So I'll give I'll talk some 4 or 5 minutes about how we calculated the load, or you can say demand, for particular 2030. So we took 2017-18 load curve as a hourly load curve as a reference, and build the 2030 demand over and above it with the help of taking a growth rate of last 5 years. We projected the state demand, and let's say if you have X bus generation, X bus demand of some X. So what we have done, we have removed the losses part and projected the consumption in 2030 and added back the losses with some different loss number. Let's say today in India, the transmission and distribution losses is in the order of 22%. But we projected that in certain year, let's say from today to 2030, the loss will be in order of 15 to 16%, and this 15-16% will have a significant impact on the requirement of demand. With this methodology, we have come up with the state level demand, hourly demand, and then we added that, and cumulatively come up with a national level number. The model will take model has what we have done. We have taken state as a node, so we have taken 25 nodes in the model, and they all group together. Let's say small states. Let's say Chandigarh will group to Punjab or Haryana. Pondicherry is included in Tamil Nadu, and northeastern state, because of they don't have that much of demand. So we clustered them as a one group. So the total number of nodes that we consider is 25, and we almost have something 900 generating station into it. So these are some assumptions that I have already talked about. That for the demand, we have taken 1718 as a base year data. We consider the load factor of 2030 by 19 TPS to come up with the peakiness and the peak requirement of the peak requirement for the state and the national level. And same wise for T&D loss I have already talked about. For generator, for calculating X-bus generation, we have taken auxiliary power consumption in order of 6%, 3%, and so on for the different technologies, for coal, gas, and hydro, and different. Nuclear we consider as a base load operations, and mostly consider as a zero flexibility options. When I talk about the zero flexibility option, it means that it will not be used for the ramping up requirement or ramp down requirement to get to the demand. It will generate at a at a flat profile of given CUF or plant load factor. We have considered 5% of storage, forced outage. Forced outage is like which the known the reasons which ad hocly come into the system, maybe because of the volatility leakage, maybe there's some generator trippings, and these kind of forced outages which can't avoid, which can from the previous experience, and the 5% and we come up like, okay, let's say 5% will be the forced outage, and how we will integrate it through a probabilistic approach. Basically, for a thermal power plant, if you see how it generally go on outage is because of the boiler tube leakages or maybe the operator mistake, and what is the frequency of it in a year, and what is the duration for which it go off, like a unit go off for 32 hours or 72 hours, or maybe it come up quickly at 6 hours. So on taking these terms with this probabilistic approach, we model the 5% forced outage. We also consider hydro, and we divide the hydro in two different segments. One is runoff river hydro, and one is storage kind of hydro. So they both have a different altogether energy constraint and a working methodology. So I'll take you through the basic numbers that we come across for 2030. Just for your information and for a reference, today in India, the total capacity is something in order of 350 gigawatt, out of which 204 or 205 gigawatt is thermal capacity and 90 gigawatt of renewable capacity. But for we prepared two baseline scenarios where we projected something in order of 705 gigawatt in 2030. The total capacity, out of which 350 will be the 350 will be the renewable energy, which is highlighted by the red color. We create one more scenario in which we increase the share of renewable energy in the total capacity mix and take it to the further 430 gigawatt level, and keep the same the capacity is same. So whereas our demand, the demand numbers today is in the order of 1200 terawatt hours with a peak requirement of 180. Recently we tested 190 gigawatt requirement in January, which is like break all the records of previous peak demand requirement. In baseline capacity scenarios, we have considered 2260 terawatt hours with a peak requirement of 300 and odd. And with we even run a scenario with a little bit higher demand numbers to see whether these capacity is sufficient to meet the required peak demand or energy balance or not. So with the 10% increase, we have taken, and this the 10% increase in high demand scenario is proportionally divided in all the states, and cumulatively come up with this number of 2,500 approximately, and with a peak requirement of 330. In one of the scenario, we have considered battery size to reduce the curtailment. Battery size approximately was 120 gigawatt hour with 2-hour battery storage and 60 gigawatt of capacity. So I'll briefly touch upon what are the different scenarios we analyzed. So we started with our what is a research question that of the grid integration, and we proposed 2 different scenarios of capacities. One is baseline and high renewable, as I discussed, and the flexibility. So when it comes to RE integration, the one word which will come to your mind and which will always need a special mention is the flexibility. What exactly flexibility is, I'll discuss further in the presentation. So in baseline flexibility scenario, we consider all the thermal power plants will run on 55% of technical minimum limit, which is the CRC guideline for ISG stations. For low thermal flexibility, what we considered is that state level generating stations will have something in order of 65% of technical minimum. Usually, state level generating station have 65 to 75% technical minimum, and they don't go below it. And generally, they ask for a shutdown if there is no demand requirement. The third one is the high thermal flexibility scenario, where we change the technical minimum requirement from 55% to 40%. For particular ISG station and IPP stations, to see what will be the impact on the grid dispatch. And in one of the scenario, we take storage as an option to reduce the curtailment of the renewable energy. In transmission scenario, we further go back down to we consider in one of the option is that in unconstrained transmission area, that all India level and interstate or interregional will be the copper plate scenario. Power can flow from one part of India to another part and without any interference or hindrance. But in expanded transmission scenario, we increase the existing size of transmission network with certain percentage. We also see this. We also analyze the sensitivities, basically in high demand, as I talked earlier. Also, we have changed the granularity of temporal resolution, which up to the 15 minutes, because nowadays the scheduling and dispatching is being done on 15%, and it's good to always analyze the results at a more granular or more depth. So even the 5 minutes and 15 minutes is possible through this model. But the only issue is whenever you go for a higher granularity, your computational time will increase. And you, if you want to simulate whole year, so the time taken by this model will be huge, and it will take a lot of time. So we only observe this 15-minute temporal granularity for 1 week, and we not analyze for a total year. We also checked the impact of gas price. In base case, we have taken 10 to 12 MMBTU, dollar per MMBTU cost, and for low gas price, we go up to the $7. So basic generator constraint, like I told earlier, that technical minimum for coal is 55%, gas 40%, and so on. The ramp rates, what we have considered is 1% per minute, that is equivalent to 60% per hour for a coal power plant. Minimum uptime and downtime we consider 4 and 6 and so on, you can see on the screen. So startup cost is something which I told you that whenever unit go for any start, so it will incur the 14,000 of rupees per megawatt whenever it needs to start as per the demand requirement. So having this all simulation for 1 year, I'll give you a brief that what exactly the result that we got and what kind of inference we can take out from it. So we see the total unreserved load, that you can say the unmet load, is almost zero. That in all the scenarios throughout, whether it's a baseline scenario, low transmission, or a high renewable scenario, in all the scenarios, the unreserved load or shortfall is almost zero. That all the capacity that we will have in 2030 is sufficient to meet the demand requirement. We have in baseline scenario the solar curtailment in the range of 0.5 to 0.3%, which increase in high renewable scenario because the renewable capacity got increased from 350 to 430 gigawatt level, and the curtailment was in the range of 3% or 2.5%. I want to give a focus on this particular number and see in solar, in high renewable energy scenario with the storage flexibility, the solar curtailment, the wind curtailment got reduced to 0.1 and 0.08%. It is because the total amount of energy that was going to curtail it, the storage had to store all these energies and provide at a time of peak requirement in the later in the evening. So the storage will help us to save the curtailment and reduce the curtailment and use that particular energy when there is a need of that energy in the peak hours later in the day. Gas PLF was almost in the same range of 16.5% to 16.5%. Hydro PLF was in the range of, for both the scenarios, particularly highlighting 36 to 37%, 35%. The important thing is the solar, the thermal coal PLF. In baseline scenario, the coal PLF was in the range of 66%, but it got reduced to 58 to 57% because of the high renewable share in the high renewable energy scenario. For the reference, today generally thermal power plant, average thermal power plant in India run at an average PLF of 60%, which I talk about like previous to the COVID situations. In COVID, it got worsened and something around of 48% or 45% was the annual CUF for the coal fleet. So generally before that, if we remove that COVID era and compare that, the thermal power plant will run on the same percentage like 61%, and in 2030 the CUF will increase by 3 to 4%. So the contribution in total energy mix, the coal will always, even in 2030, will be in the dominating position and will provide something in order of 57% of the total energy requirement in future, which will be reduced like to 50-51% in high renewable energy scenarios. Variable renewable, VRE represent variable renewable, which is solar plus wind, and its share will be in order of 25%. And will increase further 31-32% in high renewable energy scenario. So over and all, the zero carbon technologies, which include renewable energy and hydro, nuclear as well. So it will have something in the order of 42% in baseline capacity scenarios, and in high renewable energy scenario, the percentage will be increased to 47 to 48. So the key point here is that today also in 2030, what we consider is coal is going to be there. It's not like coal is totally got abandoned and the total energy mix will have renewable, 100% renewables. Coal will be supplying you power for 50% of the requirement or in the same order. So on the screen, I'll take few minutes to describe how, because we will have 3-4 slides on this, and how this dispatch stack will work, and for your understanding. If you see on the y-axis, this is the megawatt requirement. The top line, this top line will be your demand requirement at that particular day. Let's say for maximum demand day on 17th August 2030, the demand was in the order of 309, the maximum demand, peak demand. And these are the different technology stacks. The lower one in the red is nuclear. The gray will be the coal generation, and so on and so forth. This is in the arranged in this order. So particularly the inference that we can get, and this is for a 1 day particularly. It starts from 0 hour in the night to the 0 hour of the next day. Throughout the day, so the solar is available particularly at daytimes from 6 a.m. to evening 6 a.m. The wind is, the upper part of the blue is wind, and this bluish part of it represents the hydro generation, and you can see that peak comes at something in at a time of around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock in the evening, and mostly at that time solar is not available. So at the time of peak requirement, your wind is supporting us. The hydro is a very good supporter of peak requirement, and the quantum of thermal that required to ramp up is huge. From a level of 120 gigawatt, thermal ramp requirement was something in order of 175. That in 2-3 hours, 75 gigawatt of additional capacity is required to support the required demand. Which this kind of flexibility that we talk about, that our thermal power plants are that much flexible that they increase the ramp rates, or the new stations are capable enough to go for startup of the unit as soon as it requires to support the demand. So this kind of flexibility is required at that time. This will further increase when there is a minimum demand day. In a particular minimum demand day, thermal is more or less stable. There is no need to particular ramp down the thermal unit at a greater level as compared to the high maximum demand day, and not required to support to ramp up at a very high pace at the later half of a day. This is for particular maximum renewable energy day, generation day, where the solar is generating. But if you see this a little sky blue color, it represents the curtailment, that you have a particular demand of this much, but this much of energy is getting curtailed because there is no use of it. You can't stop the unit. The thermal station are running on 55% or either zero. So it's better to curtail the unit rather than go for unit shutdown. So this kind of curtailment will be there. The whole scenario was for baseline capacity scenario. If you compare this with the high renewable energy scenario, your situation got worsened, that you have to integrate renewable energy. The coal got peakier, like more slope requirement. That if you see in baseline scenario, the capacity at the daytime was something in the order of 120, 130 gigawatt, which is reduced further to 100 gigawatt. And suddenly it requires this much of ramp rate. And particularly at the high renewable scenario and maximum renewable day, see the impact on the thermal fleet. It requires to shut down most of the unit. That thermal fleet will be run on 60 gigawatt to 80 gigawatt of total capacity, and may not be required at a level of 120 gigawatt, 130 gigawatt, because this much of renewable is available. So stopping of unit and then coming back again at a very less time, it's always a challenge for thermal power plant, because in India, thermal power plant considered as base load operation plants. This is about how the battery energy storage system is going to help us. Particularly if you see in high renewable energy scenario, we have this much of curtailment. But in one of the scenario, what we have considered is battery energy storage of 120 gigawatt hour, where this battery will store this energy. If you see on the negative side, this is a storage, particularly at daytime when there is a curtailment, and this purple color on the top of it's a dispatch of, or you can say discharge of battery energy storage system or energy storage system, whether it is a battery or pumped hydro. So this kind of battery integration with the system will help in this, where you can save a lot of renewable energy and stop them to curtail and use that energy to support the system at the peak requirement. So I'll give a focus on, I'll talk about like 2-3 minutes more on this solar, particularly to the coal fleet operation. If you see these, the first three, so I'll briefly how to read this graph. On the y-axis, this is a unit-wise CUF of units, and on the x-axis, there are different scenarios. First three are baseline capacity scenario. The next are mostly the high renewable energy scenario. On this first graph, you see and focus here that the spread of coal unit generation, if coal let's say we have something in order of 500 and 600 units. So this is a spread. This is a spread of these 500 and 600 units. So annual PLF of the units will be hovering around something of 85 to even 90% to 35%. And this situation got worsened in high renewable scenario where the spread is too much. Like most of the station, or you can see that this dot line will represent each individual units, and the spread got increased, like from the station may run on 80%, and there are units which will run on 20 or 15%. So this kind of challenge and this kind of challenge and the problems that we have in the future in this kind of scenarios for the thermal power fleet. Generally, what are these stations which will be face this kind of situation are mostly, if you see on the right side of me on the presentation, there are two graphs which represent the color coding. If you see on the axis this particular color code, it represents the marginal cost of the power plant, which is a variable cost. So the 2 rupees by purple color and 6 rupees marginal cost for a particular plant are on by red or yellow color. So if you see on this x-axis is the annual startup, and this is a CUF on the y-axis. Color represent the cost. So all the stations which are in the range of 2 rupees, 2.5 rupees variable cost in 2030 will have a higher PLF, which obviously makes sense that all the costlier plant will not get dispatched because your variable cost of the tariffs of renewables are much more lesser than running these plants. These are mostly the pithead stations, which has these low cost of variable for thermal power plant, and particularly for high renewable energy scenarios. See the spread increase, the annual startup requirement, which was like for some of the station is in the 50, maximum to 50, 55 startup in a year. It increased to 100, 110 because of the high renewable, that units are required frequent start, frequent stops to meet the requirement, to meet the demand requirement. This is a curtailment when it will be for across the on axis. This is a month of a year, and these are different scenarios we talked about, and this is the percentage of curtailment. The light orange color is like 0% up to 3%. Mostly the curtailment will come in a summertime, April, May, June, and particularly you see in the high renewable scenarios. In baseline capacity scenario, there is a lower rate of curtailment, solar as well as the wind. So if you one important inference that we can take out is particularly in the storage flexibility. There is no way, or you can say very little curtailment in the system, because all the curtailment is getting stored in battery and used as a peak supporter in the electricity. So I conclude with some of the key policy work that, and will take you through. I'll take more 5-10 minutes on this. That what exactly did we come up with? That India can integrate high share of renewable and with no extra system cost. So when I say no extra system cost, it means that when our tariff has always two components, fixed and variable, and the renewable always considered as a fixed cost component because they don't have any fuel associated with it, and the renewable work on generally as a sunk cost investment. In baseline capacity scenario, because of the low renewable capacity, the impact on fixed cost is lesser as compared to high renewable energy share. Your fixed cost on the system level increase in high renewable energy system because your renewable share is increasing. You are adding more capacity of 80 gigawatt renewable into this particular scenario. Whereas on the other hand, on the generation mix, because solar and the wind are generating, your thermal are not getting dispatched, and their variable cost for a system level is reduced. So BCS particular, if you see, the variable cost is high in BCS scenario rather than the high renewable energy scenario. And when you compare into system cost level, let's say fixed cost and variable cost, On both the scenario, this is comparable. That there is no much change, 1 paisa, 2 paisa here and there in the different scenarios, but there is not such significant increase or decrease in, but at system level by integrating renewables. You can see, we have taken a variable cost, the startup cost, and fixed cost. The only thing that we have not considered here is the transmission network cost, the transmission transmission, any extra cost that is required to supply power here and there. The second graph shows the kind of challenge that we will have in the future. You see on the particular on y-axis, it shows the total generation percentage, total generation, let's say of 100% requirement, and at a daytime, the renewable share will move to up to 60-65%, and at the night time it gone down to 10%. It means that all the residual technologies, thermal, which are left out after renewable, required to meet the residual demand of 100%. From 10% to 60% within a day. It shows the kind of system that we need, which can ramp up so fast that it can meet all the requirement of energy in my later half of a day or in the evening time. So, what kind of policy decision can we come after this analysis that total all India level dispatch is required? Why I'm saying so? If you see on this India graph, this blue color shows the importer, and the red color and this dark red color shows the exporter of power. At a particular summer day, when transmissions for summer day at particular in let's say in May or somewhere in June, in daytime, these are the different technologies, let's say, states, Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, and Gujarat, Rajasthan, which are high in RE as well as in coal, because Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh are rich in coal. They will export the power to the neighboring state, or in Maharashtra, in UP, whether they don't have the power as such for their own, that they require power from neighboring states. If the all India level dispatch is being done on an optimized basis. Currently, it is the optimization done on regional basis. This scenario change in night, that all these power surplus in southern region, because of these are rich in solar, required import of energy from the neighboring state, let's say from Madhya Pradesh or nearby, and they in the daytime they export the power, but in the night time they require the power. They need to import the power to meet their own demand. So all India level optimization is required. Battery facility is required to minimize the curtailment, even to support the peak requirement in the system. Mostly the battery operate or get charged at daytime and dispatched during early hours of a day or in the later half of a day to support the peak requirement. One more important thing is that two-shift operation or flexibility, higher degree of flexibility is required from thermal fleet. The thermal fleet is required to shut down at early in the morning, and again you need to start to support the demand requirement in 2030. So we estimate something in order of 20 gigawatt, 25 gigawatt is required, particularly to go for two shifting operation, which needs I can understand that two shifting operation is not that we generally think of for thermal power station, but this kind of challenge is occurring, and we see in the model that this kind of requirement is there to meet the demand in future. With the final conclusion, we remarks that as Mr. Honorable Minister R.K. Singh, Power Minister, has said during the release of our report, that India is capable, India is looking forward to integrate to 60% of power capacity of renewable by 2030. And This is a high level and where shows the confidence that Indian power management has on meeting the grid integration or decarbonizing the sector. Some of the high level outcome was like we can integrate renewable share and with no extra cost. This will be very challenging because of the high renewable availability and their renewable forecasting issues. We need to have a portfolio approach whether we will have flexibility in terms of all India grid level dispatch optimization. Second is of integration of renewable or thermal fleet, flexibility in the thermal fleet in sense of reducing their technical minimum and asking them for a better and higher ramp rates in the future. And energy storage system is, or the energy storage system, whether it's a battery or pump hydro system, will be as a key part of integrating renewable into the grid system. With this, I'll close my presentation and look forward to the question and answer session.